Wayne County. She is accused of murder of her 9-year-old son. She was arrested in Georgia. Her 3-year-old was in a locked vehicle with no clothes on, and she was at the plasma donation place, and living out of a rental car that was due back weeks ago, never returning it. And ma'am got arrested because for child neglect. And then they took the child, and then later she was arrested again in she was arrested in DeKalb. Oh, and then she was arrested in Cobb County for a stolen car because the car was on the stolen vehicle list. It was supposed to be back in Naperville, or she had rented it in Illinois and drove it down to Georgia and had it for months. So, girl, somebody got it though, Jay Blake. So anybody who maybe had some plasma recently, it could have been Brandee Pierce. So, okay. Anyway, so she in the time, and you're going to hear this. So this prosecutor down at the bottom of the screen, you're going to recognize her because guess what? She was one of the prosecutors that did the preliminary exam with her partner on the Jarvis Butt situation. Okay. So we're going to hear from her in just a moment. Tina Wrigley, right? And they've got her back in Wayne County. She still has, I guess, charges in Georgia, but because this is a more serious case, murder, they released her from Georgia back to Michigan. But the gag is, even if she, she's not going to be out, but at the end of the day, if she were, there's holds on her in Georgia in 2 counties on multiple charges. Okay, between stolen vehicles. She has stolen vehicle in Illinois. So the stolen vehicle was a warrant out of Illinois. She was found with some sort of scheduled or some sort of narcotica. Okay. And she also had child endangerment in DeKalb. Okay, so two in Georgia, 3 charges in Georgia, charges in Illinois, and a murder case in Michigan. So ma'am is going to be busy for a very long time. Okay, let's hear what happened when she got back to Detroit. If you're not familiar with this case, I do have a Brandee Pierce playlist, and we'll give you the background from Detroit and the information about what happened in Georgia, the 2 separate cases. We read the police warrants, the police affidavits, and let me hope I'm in the right spot. I'm going to just warn you, and then the sound is horrible. Okay. The judge needed to mute some background somewhere. It was possibly the jail where Brandee was sitting, because sometimes, you see Brandee, she's not even talking, but her green light is on in the Zoom, which means there's audio coming. And why the judge did not mute her screen, I don't know. I can't tell you. Okay.
Oh, Pierce. Okay, thank you. Good morning.
But this is Brandee Pierce. Like I said, Brandee is being booked on multiple she's got some very serious charges. And you're going to hear Tina Ripley just get to it, and get into it.
The court is calling case number 25-055-674.
We'll listen to it all the way through, and then we'll run it back one time and kind of talk about it.
Case number 25-055-67401. The people of the state of Michigan versus Brandee Catrice Pierce. May I have your appearances, please?
Good morning, Your Honor. Tina Ripley on behalf of the people, P83688.
And good morning, Ride Marad, P83665 on behalf of Ms. Brandee Pierce. We waive the formal reading. Ms. Pierce stands mute. She's been advised of her rights.
Okay, good morning to you both. The court will enter a not guilty plea on behalf of Ms. Pierce. Ms. Ripley, your bond recommendation.
Yes, Judge, people are asking for a remand in this case. The facts in this case are nothing short of egregious. Zemar King was a 9-year-old child who was treated like he was a piece of garbage. He deserved better, and we believe the evidence will show that back in April of 2024, the defendant and her 2 children went to a hospital for help. CPS got involved. Zemar told CPS that his mother chokes him and wants to kill him. Fast forwarding to October of 2024, the defendant and her 2 children are living in Detroit on Woodingham. The defendant orders a shovel and a wagon from Walmart. She digs a hole in her backyard behind her garage. Later in October, I believe October 24th, Zemar wakes up early as would be usual for him. We believe that the evidence will show that the defendant smothered and suffocated Zemar, and that the defendant heard his last gasping breath and decided to walk away. That when the defendant came back to Zemar, he was blue. And instead of helping him, she decided to bind his arms and legs, put him in a wagon, and take him out to the hole that she had in her backyard and bury him. The callousness with which the defendant treated Zemar cannot be understated. The defendant is an absolute danger to the community and a flight risk. After the killing, the defendant took herself and her other son to Illinois, Wisconsin, and then down to Georgia, where they had been residing. The defendant was subsequently arrested 2 times in Georgia for crimes involving her other son and drugs. We had to extradite her back on this warrant. So people believe it's appropriate.
Okay, thank you. Your response, Mr. Maraj?
Judge, so on behalf of Ms. Pierce, I can tell you that she's 46 years old. She's not employed at this time, Your Honor. She has absolutely no income. She does suffer from disorders that I'm not aware if she's received her medication for. I can tell you that in talking to her, we understand that she's received a master's degree as well. Ultimately, Your Honor,
Let me interrupt real quick. 46. She's got a master's from where and what, I don't know, but mental illness is real. It's, and very rarely is going to get you out of a murder case. The noise is very distracting. So no need to type it into the chat. We're aware, everyone's aware. At the end of the day, just put your listening ears in so you don't miss any details, because it's just a distraction. But the information is clear. Okay, so just we'll have to muddle through. But ma'am is so the prosecutors requested a remand, which in Michigan, just like when they said Karen Huger was remanded into the custody, they're taking custody of you. Okay, so they're requesting a remand, and when they say a remand, that means no bond. Okay, and so let's let this play through. And but you guys, you know what we'll do? We'll go back to Kim Worthy, who was the prosecutor, and when she tells the story of when they put the charges on her, and we'll go to that press conference and replay that one more time. So rather than to go through this, but this is her public defender. So let me let him finish. When he's finished, we'll go to the press conference. It's not too long. And then we'll, and then I posted the playlist. I posted the playlist of the couple videos that I've already done, because this woman is awful. She's awful. And her other son, the 3-year-old, he was on the way. He was on the way to the same fate, I believe, as her elder son. Okay. Because it was giving the same thing. I think she becomes weary. She's tired. She's got mental illness. She doesn't know how to cope. And this is someone who has resorted, and not, like, we'll probably have to, we'll dedicate a day. We'll talk about her in full one day. We'll just put it all together and keep up. But at the end of the day, she had to put some effort in. I'm sure the boy more than likely fought for his life. And for her to use that as a coping mechanism, or she thought that that was going to be a solution to her problem. And then CPS was called. Why she didn't surrender them at that moment, I don't know. Like, if you're not able to handle the responsibilities of being a mom, why not just surrender the kids over? Okay. Anywho, let's finish this up. We'll watch that press conference so you can get some more detail direct from the Wayne County prosecutors. But if you're just now coming in, maybe I'll just run it back a little bit and then we'll just let the rest of it play all the way through. Let's go. Let's hear Tina Ripley.
Yes, Judge. People are asking for a remand in this case.
Hey, Ms. Ripley.
That she's
Okay,
in with
they-
now has already been interviewed.
DDC, I need you to stay.
Oh,
Ms.
Brandee,
Pierce,
Chief
I need you
Pierce.
to calling case number 25-055-67401. The people of the state of Michigan versus Brandee Catrice Pierce. May I have your appearances, please?
Good morning, Your Honor. Tina Ripley on behalf of the people, P83688.
And good morning, Ride Marad, P83665 on behalf of Ms. Brandee Pierce. We waive the formal reading. Ms. Pierce stands mute. She's been advised of her rights.
Okay, good morning to you both. The court will enter a not guilty plea on behalf of Ms. Pierce. Ms. Ripley, your bond recommendation.
Yes, Judge. People are asking for a remand in this case. The facts in this case are nothing short of egregious. Zemar King was a 9-year-old child who was treated like he was a piece of garbage. He deserved better, and we believe the evidence will show that back in April of 2024, the defendant and her 2 children went to a hospital for help. CPS got involved. Zemar told CPS that his mother chokes him and wants to kill him. Fast forwarding to October of 2024, the defendant and her 2 children are living in Detroit on Woodingham. The defendant orders a shovel and a wagon from Walmart. She digs a hole in her backyard behind her garage. Later in October, I believe October 24th, Zemar wakes up early as would be usual for him. We believe that the evidence will show that the defendant smothered and suffocated Zemar, and that the defendant heard his last gasping breath and decided to walk away. That when the defendant came back to Zemar, he was blue. And instead of helping him, she decided to bind his arms and legs, put him in a wagon, and take him out to the hole that she had in her backyard and bury him. The callousness with which the defendant treated Zemar cannot be understated. The defendant is an absolute danger to the community and a flight risk. After the killing, the defendant took herself and her other son to Illinois, Wisconsin, and then down to Georgia, where they had been residing. The defendant was subsequently arrested 2 times in Georgia for crimes involving her other son and drugs. We had to extradite her back on this warrant. So people believe it's appropriate.
Okay, thank you. Your response, Mr. Marad?
Judge, so on behalf of Ms. Pierce, I can tell you that she's 46 years old. She's not employed at this time, Your Honor. She has absolutely no income. She does suffer from disorders that I'm not aware if she's received her medication for. I can tell you that in talking to her, we understand that she's received a master's degree as well. Ultimately, Your Honor, I think we lost Ms. Ripley, so there we go. So ultimately, Your Honor, when it comes to bond, I think it's important to know that it's easy to, read off a police report and read the most egregious allegations and then confine somebody to jail. What I'm asking the court to do here is to use the least restrictive means possible and confine her to a homeless shelter. She would ultimately, any concerns that the prosecutor or the court would have would be addressed with a home confinement GPS tether to a homeless shelter. She is homeless, Your Honor. I don't think it's appropriate for me to even argue the facts in this case at this stage. But when it comes to ties to the community or flight risk, I hear what the prosecutor is saying, that she wasn't found in another state. I still think Tether addresses that. So my ultimate request, Your Honor, is to release her on a reasonable bond, confining her to a homeless shelter.
Okay, thank you. After listening to the arguments of the parties, the court has had an opportunity to review the investigator's report and take into consideration the background information that has been presented by defense counsel. The court certainly is concerned. Not only is Ms. Pierce a danger to the community, but also a flight risk. After these egregious acts or allegations, she left the state, was in Illinois, Wisconsin, and then found in Georgia. So a flight risk, that's pretty much clear. As it relates to being a danger, as Ms. Ripley indicated, the facts are just egregious in terms of how this child was found, the condition, being tied, body having been decomposed, the prior information that was submitted in terms of the contact with Child Protective Services. And based upon that information, she definitely poses a threat to the community. So the court believes that based upon the information, finds through clear and convincing evidence that she is a danger. Also, that based upon the information that has been set forth in the investigator's report, it appears that the presumption of guilt is high, and the court is going to remand this matter pursuant to MRE 6.106B1I. So Ms. Pierce, where it's going to set a remand in this case. Is there anything else from the people?
No, Judge, just looking for
That
dates.
is related to bond. I'm going to give the court dates in a moment. Anything
Okay.
else
I
from
don't
you,
have
Mr.
anything
Moreau?
further at this time, Judge.
Okay, thank you. Then we have two dates. Ms. Pierce, you have a probable cause conference that's scheduled for March the 7th at 8:30. That will be by Zoom. You also have the right to a preliminary examination, which is scheduled for March the 13th at 1:45 p.m. Now that matter will be conducted in person. Both of those matters are scheduled before Judge Jakay in the 36th District Court. So if there's nothing further, then this concludes this matter.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you both. Okay. Right. Good afternoon, Ms. Pierce.
Okay, y'all, I'm gonna say one thing first. Okay, we just need to get back to 2020 Zoom etiquette. Just mute all the mics. You know what I mean? If someone's not talking, then just mute everything. You know what I mean? Because Zoom people have gotten back relaxed again with having their mics open. And obviously the prisoners have no control over it. But since the prisoners are most likely standing mute anyway, if someone needs to say something, then they can be allowed to have their mic turned back on. But what is the point of having the mic on in the holding tanks when it's loud and it disturbs the Zoom? So I just want to be on the record by stating that, can we get back to the mute button on Zooms again, please? Because it